Hello there again, friends. Today is 1/20/2022, and today is Odin Project Vlog Day 45. And we're going to get right to it. A lot to cover tonight. I feel like tonight's, not that I don't believe any of my videos are not helpful, but I feel like this one in particular is going to be very helpful to a lot of people. So, I want to start by saying, if you are someone who found yourself getting stuck with Jest, like I described in my video yesterday towards the end, this video is going to be for you. So I'm going to take the time, we're not going to do what we did last time. We're not going to walk through the install Jest. What I'm talking about is having an extreme problem getting Jest to pass. That is what tonight's going to be all about. Because I went through the Hello World scenario again, which is basically just a warm-up, if you will, teaching you how to use Jest, how to run it, which is fine, but I still had a disconnect with getting it to run. So I went on to repeatString, which is what we're going to work on tonight. And I'm going to take you through my thought process, what happened, and how to pitfalls to avoid when using this this program. I'm not at all digging. This is not a dig at all on the Odin Project. I love everything they have. I love that they've done this for free for all of us to learn from. It's just this thing is super finicky. It is just not friendly to use, but that's just my opinion. So if anyone gets stuck, I hope that this video you'll find very helpful. And so here we go. So you go into we're going to go into O2, which is repeatString, and first thing you gotta do is read the README file, right? So it says write a function that simply repeats a string in a given number of times, and it gives you the example with a copy button here of repeatString hey, comma 3 returns hey hey hey. Sounds simple enough, right? We kind of already have in our minds how we're going to do that. This function takes two arguments, string and num. Note the exercise after this one will not have arguments provided as this one does. So I was like, oh, okay, that's easy. They're already giving you the variables to use. You'll need to provide them from yourself from now on. So read each exercises, read me carefully to see what kind of arguments will be expected. You will notice in this exercise that there's multiple tests. See in the repeatString.spec.js, which this is the Jest file you run for each test. Only the first test is currently enabled. So after making sure that it's the first one passes, you enable the others one by deleting the .skip in the from the function. And I'll show you how to do that. I'm just reading this just to say that this is how you start off to get an understanding of what you're doing and read the hints, but we'll go through it together. Take notes on the above function call. How exactly is it being called? Well, it looks like it's being called normally by itself, function call. You're going to want to use a loop for this one. Go figure. Create a variable to hold the string you're going to return. Okay. Create a loop that repeats a given number of times and add that given string to the result of the loop. Okay, that makes sense. If running npm test repeatString.spec.js returns results similar to below, make sure you have enabled the rest of the test as described in the instructions above. And this is just an example that if you didn't edit the code on the Jest file, you'll see this saying 6 were skipped, and meaning you need to go back and edit them. So, what you end up starting off with, I took some screenshots. So, okay, so here's what they give you, right? It's probably easier to show this in the browser for this part. So here's what they give you. This is all you got, which is fine. Do not edit below this line. So you put your code here, basically from here to here, in the space here, white space. They give you the constant repeat string equals function. Well, in my mind, I was like, okay, well, this thing literally says right here, it's giving you the repeat call. So I copied this into my code, and here's kind of what I had. This black right here is kind of what I had in the first iteration. So I deleted what they had there because I had constant function, just like they had in the their example, the standard setup, and I couldn't get it to work. So I was like, well, maybe I need to change that, even though it was already there. I mean, I was kind of desperate, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I could not get the test to pass. So I had this. I had function let repeat, and then it said you needed string and num, right? So I threw in string and num, and I had let output equal empty string, basically. And I had let num equal 0 because we need to iterate in a loop, and then num is equal to or less than 3 because we want to do hey hey hey, so I knew I needed 3 times. Num plus plus will increment by 1, and then we'll loop through this output will be concatenated, or will be iterated from output plus string. So the previous output's parameter, once it loops 1, will say hey plus the other string, which is hey. So then you have 2 heys, and you run through the third time, you have your 3 heys. Counts our output. It worked. But and then down here you have your repeat string, hey 3 returns a hey, and that calls it. So this does work, but when I run it, I kept getting this. I took a screenshot of this. So I got variations of this, but basically the theme was the expected hey 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 was not what I was receiving, which was undefined. And it kept getting stuck at different points, but this was the most common part. And I'm looking at this, and if you guys aren't used to Jest and writing rules and TDD, which I'm not, I look at this and I see, okay, it's expect repeat string hey 3. I'm like, okay, well, I've got that in my code. It's in the call statement. And then to equal, I knew that was going to mean it needs to end hey hey hey. So I was like, what the crap's wrong with this? Why isn't this working? So as you can see, to me, that's, if you're not reading into it too much, that's what it's saying, is that you need to have, it's looking for this, and it needs to come out as hey hey hey. But it wasn't working, and my code was right. So then and this is like probably the 3rd or 4th iteration. This is the cleaner one. I had a lot nastier versions in this, but I basically gave up. I couldn't get it to work. Kept rerunning the Jest file, and I couldn't get it to work. So I went to the I copied out the I went to the solution file and got it. So this is what it's supposed to say: constant repeat string equals function word times, which I'm just a little negative because it's kind of frustrating, because if you remember in the README file, it says to use string and num, which I used, but they used word and times, and so that threw me off. So I'm like, well, maybe that's why. But then the if then else is weird because it's not even formatted right. Like, there's no semicolons after string, after word, after string, but it compiles. It does work, and it passes the test. So I was kind of pretty negative about it and sour. So this does work. So if you do function word times, it's the same thing I had. It's just a little formatted a little bit differently. You see, here's your iteration through your loop, except they use times, instead I use num, and then this is the same exact thing, string equals, which I wouldn't type it this way. So basically this does the exact same thing, except they have a return string, and I was like, well, why is there a return string when we've been doing console.log output, or console.log whatever the entire time? And that's excuse me. And so I'm like, return string, but what are you returning it to? Because in this, again, this is their solution file, there is no call statement, you see. And so there is no console.log, so I'm like, how in the world is this passing? Because there's nothing to log. There's no log function. So no log statement. See how this is what's going through my mind. And so what I did was I went back and looked at this some more, and basically I refactored and cleaned up their code, and I rewrote it the way that I would write it. So basically taking this, and I put semicolons after everything it needs semicolons after it, string, word, error, and so basically it's the same type of thing, but I just format a little bit differently. I put my loop on the same line. I didn't change too much, and I changed the string because I do not like plus equals. It's just not clean to me. Like I talked about yesterday about how I like to code. I like to be real verbose. So I did string equals string plus word. So that's the same thing as what I had before up above in the first section. So string's going to take the new value of the old string value plus word value equals the new string, and then return string. So it's going to keep iterating through that loop until 3 comes up, and then it's going to break out and return string and break out of the loop, and that's it. So so as you can see how frustrating that would be, because this expected really throws you off. So I guess what I'm getting at, full circle here, go into this with the Jest files knowing that what it's telling you, what it's really telling you, is that it does not, even though it says it expects, it does not expect you to type in repeatString hey3 or to have anything like that in your code. What it's looking for is it's really saying, hey, I'm going to input this for you as like a console.log. It's a weird, bizarre thing to think about, but basically it's saying, hey, I'm going to give you the inputs as my test, and then equal, I need to see hey in the return statement. So if you remember those two keys, you'll get through probably everything just fine. I haven't gone through all of them, obviously, but I'm just saying that will probably do you a lot of service. So I hope that this was clear. If not, maybe replay it over again, because I spent an inordinate amount of time trying to do this, because I did not want to look at the solution file. I did not want to look at the solution file. I'm telling you, I've been doing really good about that, and you learn best through the struggle. And I had to give up because I was literally just beating my head on the keyboard and could not get this to work. And this was making, honestly, this statement was making it worse, because I was like, what does that even mean? And so, I wasn't even close. I wasn't even close to getting it right, because I had the console log in there, and I didn't have a return statement, because I was doing it how we've been told and taught to do it up to this point, without using these test files, these TDD type setups. So that's how that works. So the other part I wanted to show you is what they say about deleting is that these will say dot skip like this when you first bring up the file. This is the spec file. So in each file you'll have the file you're going to work on, and then below that you'll have the spec file, which the spec.js is your test. So basically you do, everything will say dot skip, and then on your expect, and then so what you do is you run it, and then when it gives you a green check mark and says it passed, then you go down to the next one and delete the dot skip, so it says just this expect, save this, and then run it again, and you run it in your browser. Sorry if I'm going around and about here, but what you do is you run it in your browser, and you see right here, so you do npm test and then the file name. This example is reverseString.spec.js, and it'll give you a green checkbox if it passed. It'll tell you it passed, and then the rest of these will say it'll say skipped, and it'll have red X's next to it, meaning you haven't done them yet. Yeah, like this. Sorry, it'll be red circles. So skip, skip, skip. So that means you got to go into the code, and that's what I did here, and delete the dot skip and have it test it. And it'll tell you, again, the cryptic way, but it'll tell you if you've gotten it right or wrong. And then basically you don't skip through anything. You do them in order, and then once they all pass like this, then you can move on. And it'll tell you 1 passed, test suites 1 total, 7 tests passed, 7 total, and then you know you can move on to the next exercise. So we're at 14 minutes. Do I want to show you the reverse string? I don't want to make this video overly long. Sure, why not? So the next one is reverse string. This one does pass. So if you run it, comes back, takes a second to run. It says 1 pass, 4 pass. So you got them all passed. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one is So this one is O3 reverseString. So it says, pretty simple, write a function called reverseString. And remember, don't let this fool you. That is not going in your code. I repeat, that is not going in your code. That is not part of your solution. Even though it looks like it needs to go in there, it does not. Do not do that. You will confuse yourself like I did. Spare yourself the pain. So it says, pretty simple, write a function called reverseString, and that returns its input reversed. You'll notice in this exercise that there's multiple tests. After making the first one pass, enable the other ones one by deleting the .skip in front of the test.skip function. Hint, strings in JavaScript cannot be reversed directly, so you're going to have to split them into something else first. Do the reversal and then join it back. And that's what we did here. So what we did is we called a variable called splitString, and that's taking the value of string here, which is being the function call parameter. So you're going to have string dot split and then empty quotes basically means that it's an empty string, and this split is going to create an array if you remember from the readings. And then so that turns your string function hello or whatever it is into an array hello, HELO individually parsed out, if you will. And then the next line is we're creating a variable called reverse array, and it's taking the value of split string, which is this value, which is your array dot reverse. And so what that does, that is like what it sounds like. So that method, I think you call that method will reverse the array backwards, inverse it. So hello will be, OLLEH, yeah. So then and then you create another variable called join array, and that takes the value of that previous line, reverse array dot join. Again, you can definitely clean this up and not do it so verbose, but again, I am a linear verbose type of guy, so, and it just flows, and I'm able to read it and understand what I'm doing. So, and then this will take the reverse array dot join. So join will take the reverse and basically join it back together as a string. So we'll basically take it out of. You need to do that because if you just print out join reverse array, it actually will be reversed, but it'll have a bunch of spaces in it. Because if you guys remember from the previous lessons, arrays are names or numbers or everything with comma delimited, so you'll have comma delimited spaces. So the join basically is what it sounds like. It gets rid of the commas and the spaces and everything and puts everything together, and you're just telling that the empty parentheses there, or quotes to empty quotes to tell it no spaces and that it's a string. So and then you return join array, which is the variable that carries that, and you return that, and that works. So that, again, you have to know. See, when you look at this, it doesn't make any sense because you're like, well, what am I doing? Because str is not defined because there's nothing down here. See, this is what you got to remember, is that the test is running the values for you. That's what you got to remember. The two key things is the test runs the values, and the test tells you what it expects. So you got to spit out the variable back into it. You can't cancel it out. It won't read it. It won't accept that. You have to do a return statement and give it something to ingest. And then you just go in here. This is the spec file that's right underneath it. And these would say .skip. You just delete it. Well, the first one won't say .skip, but the second, third, and fourth one will. And so you remove the .skip one by one. So as you run it, as it passes, you come back into the file, delete the next one, just do it one at a time, Control S to save it, and then go back to your terminal, run it again, get it to pass, go back into your file once that passes, delete the next .skip, save it again, and then run it. I'm just being verbose, make sure you understand how to do this. Get it to pass, go back in, delete the last .skip. Because you don't want to do it all at once, because if one errors, you are not going to know what one it failed at. I doubt. Maybe it will, but I haven't tried that. But the instructions are very explicit to do one at a time. So, I know this was a long video today, but I wanted to save you guys the hair pulling struggle that I went through to figure this thing out. Maybe I'm just dumb and it was well explained in the Hello World one, and I just didn't get it even though I read it twice. But I really wanted to hammer home the point here to help you guys so you guys didn't get stuck like I did, because man, it is frustrating, especially when you're especially when the code you're writing doesn't even make any sense. Like, this doesn't make sense because, like I just said, you're creating a variable, but you're not defining it. You're not putting a value to it, and you're not returning anything to anything. You're returning something, but it's going into like thin air. So again, just remember that it's giving you the inputs and it wants the output. So basically, you got to give it what's in between. Is the best way I can say that. So that's it for tonight. I hope you guys kept up with me. Please rewatch the video if you need additional understanding. Hope this was informative and helpful, and you had a little bit of fun on the journey tonight. Please like, share, and subscribe for more content. And let me know in the comments if you've seen this video first, or if you struggled first and then seen this video. Let me know what you guys think of the Just test files and in this process, and if you're having any struggle with it, or if you're learning it straight away. I'd just like to hear from you in the comments. So again, I appreciate all the new subscribers, and I'm seeing all you, and I see your comments. I've been trying to reply to every single one of them. I love you guys, and together we will do great things. So with that said, until next time, see ya.